All right. Good evening, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy stream or video for those of you who are watching this on the YouTube side. Austin donated to go and see some ninjas in action. So I want to think back to maybe about 3 months ago was the last time I played ninjas on stream. And when I played, I tripped all over myself because I was playing a bug version that had Oko in it, and the mana base was surprisingly rough. So when I went hunting for a ninjas deck list to play tonight, I decided I wanted to find a blue-black one, and this one stood out to me. It was from a Japanese event, and Ikeda Takahashi played this. I made one substitution. I swapped one Force of Negation for a third Plague Engineer. I have been seeing Death and Taxes just like all over the place online, and I figured that was a reasonable substitution given that. Hey, Felchmaster, welcome. So, most of what's in this deck is similar to the other ninja builds that I've played in the past. Yeah, Reaple Cheap, good eye. That's what I was just going to talk about. One of the biggest changes, though, is that this list also plays Moth Dust Changeling, which as a shapeshifter, it is also a ninja. So, not counting Brainstorm and Fatal Pushes as like one drops in the traditional sense, this deck has 12 turn 1 plays, which is absurd. Kinda MTG. Thank you very much for the continued support, friend. I think you were the one who donated for the Minotaur video. I think Julian also played it. There were many Minotaur screenshots floating around Twitter of Moaug, however I'm supposed to say that, absolutely wrecking people. It was a good time. Yeah, I don't think I have too much else to say about this deck list. Generally speaking, it just feels clean. Like sometimes you look at a deck list and go like, yeah, seems good. That's my overall impression here. I don't know how Ninjas as a deck sits in the metagame right now, but as far as this list goes, just feels smooth. It feels like there's not a lot of there's not a lot of waste here. Yes. Yes, whichever one of my glorious Latin students you are. The subjunctive sucks. Being real with you, it's hard. So for anyone not like super on the Latin end of things and knowing what's going on there, the subjunctive is used for all of these like hypothetical verb situations, could, might, should, that sort of stuff. And it's an entirely new set of verb endings. And it's brutal. Anyway, hope you all are having a good night. Lots of nice Eternal stuff going on this weekend. I played in the Vintage Showcase Challenge yesterday. Um, I had a mediocre finish, and I ended up 4-3, which in this event was still good enough to cash. I don't remember exactly. I got something like 25th or 30th or something like that. It was not impressive, but I ended up positive. Belchmaster, it's basically like what I'm doing on stream, but no cursing, and I'm talking about Latin instead of magic cards. I really need a second land to make this hand pop off. It's very good with a second land, and I am on the draw, so I get 2 chances to hit. I think I'm gonna ship this one. Like, there's a lot of waste here. Eep. How many outs am I looking at for payoff? 4, 8, 12, 13, 14 hits, plus Brainstorm to fix. Alright. That's really good. I think I'm getting Underground Sea here, so that I can play Changeling Outcast while having days available. I don't want to daze a mediocre card on my opponent's turn. I will daze a good card, but I really want to be using my mana. Why would you... Yeah, like, I wouldn't have dazed that Ponder. Absolutely not. My opponent has shuffled. Maybe they're Landlight. Save fetch for Brainstorm. Save fetch for Brainstorm. Alright, got in there. Yes. Yes, I would like my card. Thank you. Yeah, open deck lists make for entirely different events. Force that? I think I forced that. That card's good. Saving the fetch for Brainstorm pays off. Now it's a question of, like, do I actually cast this Brainstorm? My hand is kind of clunky, but this is the blue card for Force of Will. I think I'm supposed to cast it. But it's a little bit of a weird situation, because that can happen. Dr. Bill, thank you very much for the continued support. Hope all is well on your end. What do you mean unique chat metrics? Just like the huge proportion of people who are, like, modded? Yeah. Well, as far as results go, that's an okay place to be. Sorry that you're in that situation, but, you know, at least everyone's healthy. That was a boon of a draw. I might get punished for not playing Ornithopter last turn now. Yep, I got punished for not playing Ornithopter last turn. I think I need to just play Ornithopter this turn and not just hardcast this. It costs me, like, technically less mana in the long term because I just pay 2 for this instead of 4, and this lets me hold up Force of Will for if my opponent slams something like an Oko. Blue card? Redeploy this. And I will play a land so it doesn't look as suspicious next turn if I hold up hardcasting a Force of Will. Yikes. That is horrific in the face of Caracas, unfortunately. I think I just have to pass. I might be able to sneak in a hit with that later, but not right now. Simon, thank you very much for following. This is not a great exchange. But I'm going to try to keep that out of play. It gets really awkward if it gets into play because of, like, Caracas, so the Fatal Push that I have is not really the best answer to it. Daze probably does nothing either. Let's throw back Daze, Yuriko, and plan on maybe bouncing something or otherwise just tap out to play this. Brazen Borrower later. I can try to milk Brazen Borrower value real hard. I think I'm just going to pass with mana up. Well, Mothus Changeling, or whatever it's called, is a changeling, right? So it has synergies with the 1-mana artifact that the other card doesn't. We're not going to bounce their Astrolabe and give them another card. I already fetched for Brainstorm. No, I played Scalding Tarn, but I didn't crack. Let's go to my turn and then crack it. Yeah, I think the small synergies that are present in the deck are stronger than the scry of the fairy card. Oh. Alright, I can't do anything about snap swords here. Oh shit, I could have ninja'd the ninja. I sure could have. I forgot we were in blocks. Yeah, okay, that was a mistake on my end. Yeah, I was using my brain power thinking about how my opponent like maybe should have just like Snapcaster brainstormed instead and just traded Snapcaster with my 2/2. Like that's what I was thinking about. Like why didn't they do that? Don't like this. Don't like this at all. My opponent's smart. They Caracas their Uro here, and then I lose my Brazen Borrower. Or that can happen. Now I'm going to take a second to see if my opponent realizes that Yuriko is a legendary creature that can be bounced via Caracas. They realized it. I'm going to go ahead and call this game here. I maybe cost myself this one by not, like, using Yuriko to save the other thing. Like, the Caracas would have made things incredibly awkward still, but, like, I would have had a better chance. I think I like Cling to Dust to help get rid of Uro. Like, Engineer is okay. A lot of annoying things on the other side of the battlefield that I don't super love. I don't know how much value my dazes really have. I don't want to junk the dazes and bring in 2 force of negations as a harder counter. Let's try this. A lot of the cards that are in my sideboard are like reasonable, like Plague Engineer and just throwing it on Snake or Human to get potential blockers out of the way is not nothing. Nope. Yes. We get 2 creatures on turn 1, and a Ninja of the Deep Hour is active on turn 2. I think I'm just going to get rid of the fetch land here. Probably get rid of my own upkeep stop with this deck. Basically don't think that I can force of negation anything on turn 1. I don't know what I would want to. Blue card would unquestionably be one of my better draws. My opponent just has Source of Plowshares here. This turn's not great. I can't force of negation on my own turn, so the difference between force of negation and daze is super noticeable here. Yep. And now I can't really force of negation on this turn either, otherwise I'm on empty. There's probably one of those in that deck. Just throwing it out there. That's rough. I have to force of negation an Uro, or not an Uro, an Oko if my opponent has one. This card's dead anyway. I'm gonna keep my 1/1 and hope to rip another irrelevant card. I don't see myself climbing out otherwise. That's actually pretty devastating. Now my opponent's green cards are on, including something like an Abrupt Decay. Yeah. Even the wrong lands, so I can't hardcast that. I don't even know if I play this. I think I'm gonna hold that. There's some brainstorm Hail Mary lines that maybe end up going well for me. I think that time I have to let the 1/1 go. I'll just play this land and hope to hardcast ninjas. At least someone's doing some killing, because I'm sure not. I think I need to keep that from getting in my way, and then rip a fatal push or equivalent to get this out of the way and get in there. I will concede to a haymaker from my opponent. Like my opponent had double Stars to Plowshares plus Caracas plus 2 Dead of Winters. Not great for the old creature deck. All right, we're now ready to draw Brainstorm. My opponent has 5 cards in hand, and they're likely reactive cards. Okay, I did draw a Brainstorm. Let's go. God damn it. I mean, this is okay if it resolves. And it makes my land drops valuable again. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. But not this turn. Okay. There's got to be like Force of Wills and Force of Negations over there, right? Alright, I can bounce the Null Rod and do shenanigans and upgrade this creature. So it's 2 mana to bounce, leaving me with 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5. I need 1 to sack, 3 to untap. So I only need 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't need to play this land. What happened with that ponder? No shuffle. I'm going to go ahead and fetch now to decrease the amount of shenanigans that can happen. Ugh. This is frustrating at this point. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have seen 11 of our lands, either through fetching or playing directly. Actually, no, we've seen more than that because I think I've brainstormed. I brainstormed to put back 2 lands, and I think I did that. Did that once. Cool. I'm going to concede if my next top deck isn't good. That Uro is just going to beat me and my opponent can cast. My opponent can cast it, even though their Astrolabes are shut off by their own Null Rod. A little rough. Like, the opponent having the one of Caracas both games to brick my Yurikos was bad. But, like, the double Swords of Plowshares, double Dead of Winter this game. That's pretty insurmountable. I do think the matchup is probably very favorable for them, though. They have so many different angles of interaction, a bunch of which are uncounterable. My land count. Okay, the fact that I have 18 lands makes me feel much worse about last game now. Holy shit. Yikes. This isn't unkeepable. Like, A, my mana doesn't work, B, I have no payoff card. 4. If you have a stifle, you stifle here. Otherwise, I don't know what you're thinking about. Are you just double queuing? No. Okay. I don't really hate that draw. So we can immediately turn this into a 4/4. I can also use it to make a flyer. And that can jump in front of Inkmoth Nexus and maybe eat a spell. This is an interesting brainstorm. I wonder if this is just them like trying to find the last thing that maybe pushes damage through and kills me next turn. I don't know that you blow a brainstorm like that in response to a retrofit or foundry otherwise. I don't know, maybe you do when your opponent has mulligan to 5 though. Welp. Alright, that bodes very poorly for me. My opponent's on 3 though, and I am attacking for 4, then 8, which is dead. But the pump spells my opponent can have and put them ahead on clock. This would be a cool game to steal. 3 Plague Engineers in the sideboard are going to be gas. Main phase, huh? Yep. We'll be boarding in 3 Plague Engineers. I can think about these cards as well. um, I probably don't need all 12 enablers. So this is the normal amount of enablers this deck is playing, so I could be comfortable here. I think on the play I'll play the back to basics, but I won't on the draw. And trim 1 piece of top end. I don't know, I also could have trimmed 1 retrofit or foundry instead of that. This hand does nothing despite having a good mix of lands and spells. I think I need a more proactive hand. I think this is just another yikes hand where I would keep a 6 that looks something like this and have a 1/1 with Fatal Push. No. God, why? Sure. I'm getting the island. I'm gonna expose the brainstorm to a daze and see if I can set them back on mana. Alright, next turn I'm gonna play Plague Engineer and then I'm just gonna cast a Yuriko. I think the daze becomes a lot less good with Noble Hierarch around, although maybe it protects my Plague Engineer. Maybe I'm not fetching, maybe these cards are good. No. Let's get rid of Brainstorm Daze. Alright. Inakito, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. Yeah. So for example, the daze in my hand wouldn't have done anything against that. That is a draw I'm happy with. So this is a human. This is a human. Strong. This is a big fight. And I started the fight. My opponent probably has a better chance of winning. Oh, wow. better chance of winning this fight than I do. But here we are. By force. I don't know that I have the time to do the cute, like, bounce plague engineer with Yuriko thing. Maybe I do. Nah, I'm gonna keep that out of play. My opponent didn't have a counterspell last turn, or wasn't willing to fight last turn. Okay, or didn't have a counterspell that they could use, is more accurate. Yeah. There's a lot of upside to doing the brainstorm now, and get gross. I should have done those fetch lands in the other order for back to basics reasons, but that's okay. I think I'm just waiting. I think I'm gonna try to get a blowout with that card. I also don't want to play the petty theft into a daze. So I would have loved to use the Prismatic Vista to get a swamp here, but I messed that up. Still think I'm waiting. All right. So now this gives me like petty theft into brazen power in the same turn cycle. Oh man, maybe I still wait. Try to get a different savage blowout. Yeah. Going to be playing the petty theft around a good amount of off permission. I can just block. Oh, now they have Invigorate Berserk. Oh, are they just doing that to get the Ornithopter out of the way? That's a pretty big win. I maybe shouldn't try to extract this value, and I maybe should just cast the front end. Because of like Flusterstorm or Hardcast Force of Negation. for that. So they used 2 pump spells last turn. Hope this is just one. Is. I'm not going to claim that I played perfectly today thus far, because I really don't think I have. But the feast and famine situation that has been happening with my lands has been very frustrating, and my deck is not firing off and doing its thing. That feels obligatory since I just have Stone Cold Nothing. Okay, that's not bad. There's worlds where I want to play these lands to better play around like Flusterstorms, but I don't know that I win this game without brainstorming and putting some lands back and fetching. I'm very far behind. I think I take this hit as to not unlock Noble Hierarchs and Blighted Agents that I kind of think are in my opponent's hand. Then I'll go for end of turn Fatal Push. Please play a pump spell with no protection. Or kill me. I'm fine with that too. This game is not particularly fun. Alright. I would like to see this deck do its thing at least a few times over the course of this league. Like, we're 0-2 in matches so far. We haven't put up a game win either. And we've mulliganed to Oblivion or flooded out most of the games. This says it has been rough. We're not quite at demoralizing yet, but we're on track. Do a quick Twitter scan here, see if we're starting to get top 8 of the event or anything like that. Aaron Relentless with a 6-2 in the Legacy Challenge. Oh wow, which was only worth 21st place. A little rough. What else we got? We'll find out later. The Lotus event is finishing up now. Excellent. Maybe we'll have some real results sometime soon. Okay, see, like, this is a reasonable hand, right? Like, we have a good mix of land and spells, and we have multiple different things we can do. So this is the time that our opponent will just go, like, Dark Ritual Doomsday, kill me on turn 1. Alright, we're doing this again. I'm going to play the unblockable one on turn 1. Saving this one also means that a Force of Will or Force of Negation later is better. Hey Bentley, welcome. Do I want to thin the deck? No, I'll save this for a brainstorm. Thank you, Astrolib. You're a real pal. Been having fun cubing. I've recorded a couple videos already that I'm slowly going to start pushing out as sub rewards. I'm on my 3rd one, doing a 4th tomorrow where I'll be a guest on another channel. I think I cast Retrofitter Foundry now, see if my opponent forces that, and if they do force it, I play another Retrofitter Foundry as like the aha, got you moment. Well, fuck me! God damn. Yeah, I'm in North Carolina now. I'm gonna keep this for Brainstorm or for a Force of Will. That's frustrating. Shadowless, if you go back further in my history, it's even better. So I went Illinois to Iowa to College Park, Maryland, which was right outside of DC, to Virginia. I moved around 4 or 5 times while in Roanoke, and now I'm in North Carolina. So I get around basically. So last time I boarded in two Cling to Dusts and Force of Negations for the days. Try that again. I went to Cornell College, so that's in Mount Vernon, which is about 20 minutes north of Iowa City. So this tries to go Ornithopter into Yuriko. EHR F8T, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the legacy content. That's actually a pretty good draw. I have something better to pitch to the Force of Will or Force of Negation. This time I'm actually going to do my shit. Yeah, not me. So we played against this deck a round or two ago, and my opponent boarded in Null Rod. And guess what? It was pretty good. Speaking of pretty good. There's going to be a couple of triggers here after I Force of Will this Swords to Plowshares. After I Force of Will this Pyroblast. Did my opponent just concede? I'm lagging. Yep. My opponent just conceded. Savard to Solid, that's a good point. So I think my mana's tight a lot of the time. So if things are going my way, I go one drop on turn one, two of these, two mana on turn two for this, and on turn three, I might want to do something like Ninjutsu again and play a Retrofitter Foundry or something like that. So I value the free interaction quite a bit. It's also possible that I should be boarding in the Thoughtseizes in addition and using that to poke a hole in my opponent's game plan, because cards like Dead of Winter are just so brutal. Yes, Monster, thank you very much for following. I am by no means a ninja expert. The other thing I can do here is cut a little bit of my bottom end and bring in the Thoughtseizes. I think I'm going to cut two Moth Dust Changelings for Thoughtseizes. Like, they pitched a Force of Will, and it's one more thing that can be upgraded via Retrofitter Foundry, but, like, the Changeling itself doesn't have evasion, so it's not exactly going to be great versus Elks or Snapcaster or Icefang Coatl in the same way that this unblockable creature will be. Yeah. I would like to draw a blue card so that my Force of Will is going to be live on my turn 2 to protect this thing. Storm is 1. Storm is 2. Alright, come on, blue card for my draw step. Or opponent not having the ability to cast Swords to Plowshares this turn is also fine. That'll be their own... Well, I guess they could, like, Fatal Push or Pyroblast as well. Anything can happen. Yeah! Yeah. Send them. Go to blocks. 1, 2. Return that. My opponent can force back. I'm in super bad position. I don't think I play this because of Dead of Winter. I need another piece of gas, or I need my opponent to not be able to answer the Infiltrator this turn so that I can get some more draws. My opponent answered my Infiltrator like that. I'm so screwed. Well, that's not bad. Oh, it resolved. Oh, baby. I can make some 4/4s. How many is Cling to Dust? 4? 5. Yeah. Hopefully my opponent does not have a third Swords to Plowshares. Life is very bad for me if they do. Alright, attack Oko, and I'm going to send this at them for misdirection. Oh my god, it worked. Cool. Ready to get Dead of Wintered and be very sad? I'm ready. Oh, I might actually get to cling to dust that. For my fetch land, my other fetch land that's in hand can be my last card to cling to dust that out of the graveyard. Alright, cling to dust. Target Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. Okay. Still living in fear of a sweeper, very, 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 very much so, but there's hope. God damn it. Oof, that's a big raid. Thank you very much. Hello, friends, coming from Vintage. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here. Today we are playing Legacy. We are playing Blue-Black Ninjas versus a Snow Control deck. I just ate a board wipe and got 3 for 1. And as you can see here, the cards after that brainstorm are perhaps not ideal. But we have a hardcast Force of Will available for an opposing Oko or something of that nature, and I can refresh the top of the library, so all is not lost. Justin, hope your vintage event went well, whatever it is you were streaming. Well, if it went poorly, but it was also glorious, isn't that what the people really want at the end of the day? That's not so bad. Oh, alright. Pyroblast is my opponent's one card there. Not ideal for me. I just take out this Ice Fang Coatl before my opponent can protect it. This is 4. Yeah, let's just get that out of the way. Yeah, my vintage event yesterday went mediocre as well. I had a 4-3 finish with Hogak Vine. I definitely made errors, but it just wasn't one of the days where the deck did its absolute most degenerate things. I played some like awesome tight Magic, and then a couple of times it was like, haha, Lavinia's in play. You did a dumb. I actively dislike merfolk as a tribe. Although, I will admit I'm pretty excited about the new uh, Hull Breacher, the Flash merfolk. That thing is going to get some people, and it is going to be disgusting. Yeah, that card will be fun to play with for a week or two before something happens to it. Am I going to get a chance to cling to dust this? How my opponent stacks their triggers matters a lot here. Oh man, opponent didn't fetch! Opponent has to fetch, giving me priority to cling to dust that thing out of here? Eh, they have they have wisened up. It's unfortunate, so I'll have to force that. The black one, Opposition Agent, will be obnoxious in Legacy and exactly one deck. We'll probably see some Vintage play as well. I wasn't completely sold at first when I saw it for Vintage standards. I've been talking to a few people who are excited about it. Yeah, I know, Mr. Burrito. Like, that 5 in the corner, that's... it's weird. Back on the Vintage line for a second. I want to go back and do kind of a breakdown of a couple of, like, very specific, interesting decisions that happened in my event yesterday. I got super, super punished for a decision that I made. Um, and I made an error. And I even, like, thought about it at the time, but, like, went against what I should have done. I'm gonna go ahead and play a land, actually, just in case there's some sort of Spell Pierce type card. It also just sets me up for Brainstorm plus Shuffle later. This Claim to Dust is doing work. Like, we have gotten rid of 2 Uros. Yeah, not me. I had a general critique about some of the new designs. It's that the gameplay is going to be miserable for one person while those cards are in play. No log. I spent all yesterday playing Vintage, and I normally stream Sunday nights, so I didn't think I could swing like 7 rounds of Magic on Saturday, another 5 on Sunday night, plus trying to slip in a couple of Cube recordings in between. Yeah, you can have mana at this point. That's fine. While also like playing that event at the level that I should be playing it. Uh, so wait, 1, 2, 3. All right, so I can't cling to dust this turn unless maybe this gets countered. If Yuriko goes to the graveyard and I play this fetch, that will be exactly 5 to cast a Cling to Dust and get a new card. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that because I've already used 1 Brainstorm, so 3 remain. Smart. Ooh, okay, maybe not smart. I'm getting like dangerously close to the point where I'm out of lands in my deck. I didn't do that count until just now. Okay, so that's a Scalding Tarn left in play. Let's cling to dust that. Where's the Plowshares? No, let's take out the Abrupt Decay. This is a grind. This is the sort of game that I wanted to be playing. I will hold this. Potentially cashing that in for another card or giving my opponent misinformation is good. If I get to 4 cards in graveyard, I can then, like, use this to convert it to something else. I'm not sure what I want to try next. Yeah, deal. I will accept that 1 for 1. I'm not sure what I want to try next in Vintage. I've been on Hogak Vine, and the deck still feels good, but like Dredge is picking up in popularity and performing pretty well, and that might mean that I'm better off playing some shops or switching to something else. I want to give a PO League a shot at some point. I'm going to hold this Brainstorm. Yes, that's acceptable. Yeah, I played Minotaurs on stream. What was that, Wednesday? I think it was Wednesday. The Moag card does some work. Didgeridoo is a thing that lets you cheat Minotaurs into play. So you try to cheat in a bunch of like 6 and 7 cost Minotaurs that have very powerful effects, including giving you additional combat phases. Um, that's a little spooky. Oh, actually, that's very spooky because changelings. Oh, yeah. I will respond to that. Resolves. We'll see what my opponent names. Servo is pretty good. Fuck, Caracas. Alright, so I do want to fetch at some point in my turn cycle. Okay, so I know my opponent doesn't have anything now. I have 4, 5, 6, 7 mana to work with. I guess I do this now. I do at least the first part now. And then block, and then do the next stage. I want to untap now. Then I think I'll pass here. Okay. It's a little annoying, but that's not the end of the world. The fact that it's backed up by Caracas is good for my opponent. A1, sacrifice a servo, turn into a Thopter, fetch away the dead cards on top of the deck. Go to my turn. Okay, so this is a ninja, so I can't play that. So let's pass the turn. Yeah, I've played Tomic and Legacy a decent amount. I don't think it's particularly great right now. Like Ice Fang Coatl being a thing that lots of people are doing in the format means that it's very awkward to play that card. Caracas is also common. This is also why I'm very glad that my opponent didn't name Servo. Just throwing it out there. That's a dead card. I don't think I'm going on the offensive yet. I could. I could just like trade with Ice Fang Coatl here. That puts a card into my graveyard. Combine it with Prismatic Vista. I don't think I'm on the Cling to Dust plan. Heck with it. Send them. Like there are reasons to get aggressive, including just like a Snapcaster Mage or another Dead of Winter clearing my board. Yeah. Buckle up. We're gonna do a lot of tapping and untapping. I guess technically I should be like holding priority and untapping in response to this trigger. Yeah, I should be doing that. I want to Cling to Dust on my opponent's turn. I would like to respond to that. Get that Dead of Winter out of there. No, no, let's get a Swords of Plowshares out. If the Dead of Winter takes out Plague Engineers and Leovolds and stuff, that's a net win for me. Alright, so now I will create a servo. Again, I should be holding priority. Okay, so if this goes on Thopter instead of servo, that's a win for me. Because then I can still make 1/1s to chump block. Yeah. Alright, so I will get a 4/4, and then I'm in trouble. Yeah, I'm taking 5 this turn. I don't know if my opponent is supposed to do that for force of will reasons, but I didn't force of will this, so I guess they're in the clear. We have a draw step stop here. Click isn't commonly seeing play anymore. Or I'll play my 1/1. Then I can get a cling to dust on my opponent's turn and a 4/4. Because if my opponent attacks in with everything, I can, well, hold on, why can't I cast this? Oh, there's 5 cards in graveyard counting itself. I could have played Prismatic Vista. I see. The Brazen Borrower. That's how I'm going to clock and kill my opponent. Okay, cool. I'll also play Prismatic Vista and trade 1 life. For a new card. I am just going to cast Brazen Borrower. I don't want to expose this to extra types of interaction. And I don't want to bounce a Plague Engineer and then have it come down on Fairy or Rogue and do me dirty that way. These changelings, looking hot. Brainstorm not great with Leovold in play. Most of my cards not great right now. I think I just crash in with the Brazen Borrower. I don't know that I want to allow my opponent just like Leovold. Well, that does do some things for me, I guess. Another thing I can do is hemorrhage cards into my graveyard and then trade them for a Cling to Dust to draw at some point. Yeah, that's bad. I don't know that this game is going to end any way other than timeout. Oh, actually decking is real. Yeah, I think I'm playing towards decking now. Now that my opponent has 3 Death Touchers, though, trading any one of those in particular is fine. I could do a Construct attack, but I think I need this 4/4 on the defensive as to not just die to combat damage. Elevation, thank you very much for following. I hope you are enjoying this slog of a game. Next turn I will cast a Yuriko and start trying to chip away at my opponent's block for Caracas-based reasons. But I don't think I want to like actively cast a Yuriko until my opponent... Sorry, until I would have to discard. That's not good. Not anywhere near Cling to Dust range. I had a fetch land in play. I would probably brainstorm in response here, but I don't. So I think that happens. Notably, though, this basically cuts the amount of time that it takes my opponent to deck in half. I don't think this is a May. Yeah, not a May. Okay, that was expected. The opponent has 6 cards in library, which means 3 turns. Well, 3 turns if Uro attacks. This is going to be tight. Had my opponent draw Pyroblast. That's pretty good. That's also very good. Good God. The opponent had to have at least some of those cards. I have a feeling they could have played this game much more aggressively, and I would have been dead a long time ago. Yeah, Leo is a May, so I can't just deck my opponent here. Dead in 2 turns quite easily. All right. That's a little frustrating. All right, I'm going to take 30 seconds to run to the restroom. I will be right back. All right, let's battle. Um, so one possibility is that if my opponent did draw the Swords to Plowshares that turn, then they weren't actually really slow rolling, right? So if they remove my 4/4 big blocking idiot, then they can get in there real hard. But like say theoretically that like Swords to Plowshares was the draw off of Uro or something like that, then they weren't actually slow rolling that because Pyroblasting and Red Blasting, the two ninjas that I have, doesn't lead them to super effective attacks. Yeah, the ninjas deck, in my opinion, is very feast or famine in how it plays out. When the ninjas deck goes and does its thing, it is very powerful and strong. And when it's not getting to do its thing, it just trips over itself and dies. The bug versions have major mana base inconsistencies that I think make it quite bad. And even the blue-black version runs into some difficulties. So if you're on a one-lander and you have one of your 7 basics naturally, there's a good portion of your deck that you just cannot cast. There's also a lot of times where you draw the same side of the deck and you do nothing. So, for example, if you have a hand that consists largely of these 12 cards, you don't have a functional hand. And similarly, if you have a hand that consists of these 14 cards, your hand also does nothing. Okay, speaking of mana-based problems, this hand does nothing because I don't have a black source for the Yuriko. I have triple islands. This is a functional hand, though. This is a hand that just has a very good chance of doing something strong with protection. Robbot, thank you very much for the continued support. I think I gotta stop that. But first, let me update the old sub goal here. I think I just have to protect this and then get at least one card out of Ninja of the Deep Hours. We're playing against Burn. This, like, I'm going to get one card out of it and then lose it. If we're playing against Delver, there's a better chance that this gets to stick around. Eh. Oh god, yeah, like another lightning bolt dooms me. I mean, fine and Andy, we almost won by mill, so it's not the end of the world here. Alright, don't find lightning bolt. Don't do it. Or chain lightning either. I think it's just lightning bolt or chain lightning that I would have to worry about. So probably 5 hits in 51. I don't think there's a fork bolt or anything like that these days. Yeah, I'm disappointed to lose the last game. Yet. Yet. But it was a good game. Like, it was a good, grindy game of Magic, and I did enjoy it. That's very good. I don't think I want to expose this to Daze or Force of Will, if I can avoid that. So I'm just going to play this. And if my opponent bolts this, that's like another way that I might have to protect the Yuriko. Okay. Dead. Yeah, it's too late. Alright. Next game. We're not beating Dreadhorde Arcanist that can kill any of our creatures twice, and then 3 times, and then ponder as well. Like, just yikes. Plague Engineer on Wizard seems really hot. Fling to Dust is maybe playable. Force of Negation is maybe playable as well. But when my opponent removes on my turn, it's certainly awkward. I think I'm going to trim 2 enablers and 1 piece of top end and keep my dazes. And not play Force of Negation. Daze can be important to try to stop the Dreadhorde Arcanist from coming down early and just ruining me. Because once that thing's in play, like, I'm not digging out from that. I wonder if my opponent goes down on counter spells in this matchup, since the things that are important to counter aren't kind of worth countering. If that makes sense. Like, you don't want to Force of Will something like this, because it's sneaking in something else, but if you Force of Will this and I just go like, haha, Ornithopter, very awkward. Alright, lots of good draws here. Force of Will's good, a Daze is good. Even just like a Thopter is not bad. Land, what turn are we? 2? That gives me a land for next turn for Plague Engineer. That's fine. But I think I'm pretty likely to lose the Yuriko this turn, and then... I don't have black to Fatal Push and Changeling Outcast in the same turn. That's awkward. The Plague Engineer also doesn't remove Delver now. Also awkward. Alright, so we're racing right now. That's good. That's very good. That means I can poop 4/4 bodies. I guess I can attack with Yuriko and then make any decisions after that. Because I guess my decision trees change a little bit if I get another black source. Which I did not. Plague Engineer plays into Daze, but plays around Force of Negation. Man, it is so awkward that I don't have a second black source. I think I'm going to Plague Engineer and try to take this out this turn. Daze is like so good against that line, whereas I play around Daze with the like a Fatal Push Retrofitter Foundry line much better. I think I'm going to use Fatal Push as the bait spell here, and try to resolve Retrofitter Foundry. Okay. Looks good. I am probably getting hit for 3 or 4 by this Sprite Dragon this turn, though. Feel relatively confident in saying that. That occurs. Not a fun creature type, are you? Nope, human ninja. And my hand is going to be continue to be awkward for the rest of the game unless I draw another black source, though, because like every card in my hand is black. I think this deck is trying to like play way too many basics. Like I get it, but I don't think I get to race my opponent. I think my opponent is going to make this creature too big and I'm going to die. Yeah, I mean that is certainly how it has felt tonight. How much mana is it to make a 1/1 flyer total? 2, 5, 6 mana. So I'm not even close to the point where I can just chump block this every turn either. Please bolt my idiot. Give me some value. Give me a chance. Oh my god, it's happening. Actually, do I not make the 4/4? Do I just make a flyer that can jump block? Maybe I make a flyer that can jump block. That's worth a lot of life. I also have like one fatal push left in the deck. I guess I can also like petty theft it back to their hand. There's there's hope for Alright, I am going to play out a Yuriko this turn cycle. I don't know that I see worlds where I win this unless something crazy happens, like I attack with Yuriko, flip a Force of Wheel, will hit my opponent for 5, chump block, repeat that same thing again while attacking with one other creature. Outside of those sorts of situations, I don't think I'm winning this game. Like, if I was able to cast more than one spell at a time, we could talk, but just just yikes. Alright. I'm gonna play out the next one. I'm dead for prizes. But unless we're paired against Snow, like yet again, I think I have one more match in me. Yeah, so my opponent probably has 6 main deck removal spells, plus 2 to 3 Pyroblasts, plus Dreadhorde Arcanist to flash them back, and maybe some other saucy removal as well. Maybe they are all rough matchups. Yeah, I can't imagine taking this deck to a serious event beyond a Legacy League right now. Like, it just feels so outclassed by everything that I'm playing against. Like, if you're playing against something like Death and Taxes, you have Caracas, Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, Flicker Wisps, Skyclave Apparitions to all think about. When you're playing against Snow, the Death Touchers are annoying, the Plague Engineers are rough, the Oko is annoying, Abrupt Decay plus Swords to Plowshares plus the ability to flash them back. Um, and when you're playing against Rogue Delver, you're playing against a deck that is the more efficient version of you. I've I've said this in the past, but something I've noticed in playing a lot of the janky decks for donation decks is that the gap between tier 1 and the stuff that isn't tier 1 is widening, in my opinion. And this is this is a league that really demonstrates that. Like I've been tripping all over myself. My hand does nothing. I need to mulligan. My hand does nothing, but I can rip a land and have a good hand. I also theoretically have 2 counterspells. I probably need to keep this. I think I pitched this. I believe. I think if I have to get lucky to win anyway, I might as well take a riskier line. Oh, this is really awkward now. If I'm playing against something like lower lands, I don't want to open myself up to wasteland, but if I play Prismatic Vista for swamp, then I can't daze. And dazing to stop a chalice or equivalent is so important here. Alright, punish me with wasteland. Let's go. My body is ready after the beating that I have received tonight. Hey, the Moto Shuffler gave me a land, so, like, at least I'm in here. Ekohoma1, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the content here. I'm going to pick up another black source, given what happened last game. To make up for that. Commander Ninjutsu. Crop rotation, Caracas, get screwed. Yes. I don't feel super favored here. I have some interaction in that I can block a Merit Lodge and I can petty theft it. But this daze that I have in my hand is not super comforting. Really? Interesting. Oh, yes. Oh, that was good. That was good for me. I don't know exactly what Radiant Fountain is supposed to be combating here. Ooh, Brazen Borrower is like a great pickup. Like, is Radiant Fountain just there for Delver and it's supposed to buy you time to, like, go over the top with Valakut exploration? Any reason why I need to play a land pre-combat? Not that I can think of. This is cool. That's where we're at. Am I gonna get like not of this worlded? You know I have the Brazen Borrower. No, I beat that anyway because of the days. Uh-huh. Yeah, and if I get double not of this worlded, I think I just concede the whole match on the spot. Like, you earned it. Yeah. Don't mind that at all. I get attack with the Ornithopter and put in a new Yuriko. What's a legend roll, by the way? Oh, Retrofitter Foundry is cool. Don't mind that. Now I can play Retrofitter Foundry, which converts the Thopter, and then fetch and Brazen Borrower, and that should finish off my opponent through most things. Guess like a Glacial Chasm is still a thing off a crop rotation. Punishing Fire also probably keeps them alive, although I might just double days that. Almost there. Fetch lands are off, which is kind of a big deal. Double Retrofitter Foundry is also a lot of stuff to do. in many ways, my dazes aren't going to look great in this matchup. Stopping a Valakut exploration from hitting play is pretty huge. So I will want my ley lines. Or in the back to basics too. I think days on the draw is probably going to be a little rough. They sure would have. The Radiant Fountain kept him alive. That's a great point. I think I'll board out the Fatal Pushes and maybe play through something like a Tireless Tracker rather than actually try to kill it. The lands decks are running fewer cards like Tireless Tracker now that they have either like main deck or sideboard 3 or 4 Valakut expirations. I like the versions that have 4 in the main deck. I think that card is insane. Oh, do I also Cling to Dust? I probably also Cling to Dust in addition to just the ley lines. Um, Maybe I go the Ornithopters out. They fly. Well, Dust Changeling also kind of flies. Let's do this, and then let's substitute like this, because Force of Will, or sorry, Force of Negation can junk Life from the Loam or Punishing Fire permanently. Try this. I hope I haven't boarded in too many do-nothing cards, but I only cut 2 creatures, so the core of my deck is still there. We shall see. This hand has no game plan, but might still be keepable. I'll have 10-ish draws for an enabler, otherwise I can just like try to brainstorm fix this hand. I think I'm going to keep this one. The Force of Negation for the first payoff card my opponent has is pretty good. We can do something like Force of Negation, pitch Yuriko. This is a plan in and of itself. Yeah, I still think Yuriko is the weakest card in this hand. Brazen Borrower can bounce something that slips through back to hand, so I can counter it back on the way back down later. We're in combat. Another Retrofitter Foundry is not exactly fantastic. I think I will brainstorm this position though. All right, I don't want Leyline of the Void, and I don't want the second Retrofitter Foundry. Feel pretty comfortable with both of those statements. So I've made a 4/4, and then I can back to basics with 4/4 in play. A Force of Vigor is going to be so good against me if my opponent has that in. It's a little frustrating, but I was about to do the same thing, so fair. I can just use Delta to bounce choke and then do my thing that way as well. Yeah, we're having a good old like, what is this like? This is like eighth edition versus Urza battle. I am gonna kind of need my opponent to tap their lands again, so that I don't just get like immediately rechoked. Them tapping out for a Valakut Exploration or equivalent this turn would be very good for me. Yes. Yeah, this is just like I drew it up in my head. I love it. Russell Sprouts, thank you very much for following. Hope you're enjoying the game here. Bounce that choke. I think I take my attack first on the off chance that they do have a Force of Vigor. All right. Don't Force of Vigor me. It will be so good. Okay, I guess I always yield to this at this point. The clock is going to be much faster than my opponent's. I'm probably swinging for 4 and then 7. Because I'll just hardcast this Brazen Borrower. But we'll see what happens. Yeah, this is one of the few games where, like, the fact that we have basic lands is very, very actively good for us. My Brazen Borrower could get Punishing Fired this turn, and then I could not have lethal. Uh-huh. Mox. Mox is probably quite good. Nope. Okay, that should be unbeatable. Now our opponent knows about Back to Basics, so Force of Vigor is a thing that could be in the deck now that... Oh, right, I won game one. Alright, we got on the scoreboard there at the end with this deck. Okay, so overall I was not really impressed with this deck tonight. The single Underground Sea as the only non-basic meant that I was often tripping over myself with opening hands. And I feel like this deck has a lot of the like wrong side of the deck problem, where you really need something from column A and you need something from column B while also needing lands. So it's kind of like an awkward 3-card combo deck where a lot of the pieces are interchangeable, but it doesn't actually win. Fine, Andy, thank you very much for gifting those subs. I will make sure to get a cube video uploading later tonight. So, in comparison to the bug deck I played, this deck didn't have very much removal. I think the bug version I played had Fatal Push and Abrupt Decays, and the Abrupt Decays were in a decent number. And this deck only had 2 Fatal Push to kind of like take opposing blockers out of the way, and I don't know that that was enough. Fine, Mandy. I think I agree with that. Not enough removal, not substantial enough threats, and not a great mana base. Yeah, the mana base is surprisingly not good for being a 2-color deck. Like, I definitely threw back many hands because they were 1-landers with the one land being the wrong land or something like that, right? So I wonder if this deck like shouldn't be running Prismatic Vista, should be running a few more Underground Seas or something. Um, yeah, but overall, I'm just not super impressed with where this ended up. We did have a couple of really cool games where we got to like grind through things with Retrofitter Foundry, but other than that, like we mulliganed a lot tonight, and we didn't like do the ninja thing all that many times in the grand scheme of things. So once again, thanks to Austin for donating to make this stream happen. We had some cool moments. We did broken things a few times, but that snow matchup feels rough, and I don't know what I'm really supposed to do about that.